Hi, welcome everyone, and this is Allison, and thank you for tuning into All One Sun. Um, Now, today our topic is Know Thyself. It is for women and anyone who would like to know the truth. Um, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself so you know where information is coming from a bit. Um, I've always been very intuitive and have a lot of experience with the supernatural ever since I was young, ever since I could remember. Okay? Always had abilities to be able to almost like read a person's mind and just see inside of them. Very intuitive. Always had a wisdom and knowing and knowledge that most people my age wouldn't have. Okay, I always knew that I wasn't from here and always longed to go back. I didn't like the way and like what I saw in the world, and I knew I was here for a reason, nevertheless. And as I got older, just like a lot of people like myself, pushed everything aside and tried to fit in. Anyway, to make a long story short, got a calling back on my life to go back spirituality. I've been back and forth. And when I really decided to dig deep this time, I started to realize a lot of things, a lot of lies. And I started to ask questions. And I started to seek inside to tell me the truth. And those truths started to come through visions when I meditate and also through dreams. Okay, and that is how I got most of my my knowledge. Some of them I just kind of research and just put some two and two together, but the blunt of it comes from just my meditation and dreams. And of course, I would then try to research it, and I knew I wouldn't be able to find some of what I was looking for on the internet, and at the time I tell you I couldn't really find anything, and I was really hoping that somebody would. And I found this one doctor who came close to some of the stuff that I wanted to clear up, and of course I saw some stuff from a little stuff here and there that just made me develop more confidence in the message that I was receiving. Okay, because I'm like, how am I going to tell people? I mean, I knew, but it was like, how am I going to tell people? And then, of course, there was doubt that sets in every once in a while, because, am I going crazy? Even though I knew, I'm sure if you're on this road and to spirituality, you know what I'm talking about. So, nevertheless, one of the things that I came to first was that people of color, I don't like to say black, but people of color were the first ones here. Okay? And I came up with that, and that's why I don't really like to listen to people or read people's books too much, because I really don't want anyone to say that I copied them or anything like that, and I really want the information to come to me from my inner knowing. So anyway, that was the first thing. Now, the first thing I want to be clear on for anyone that's listening, this is not about who is better than who and who is this. This is about information. What do they say? Knowing is half the battle, and we are definitely all in this together. Okay, no matter which side you're on, we're all in this together, and I hope that whoever that's listening to this, is someone who care enough that they want to be able to see peace. Their intention is for peace and love for everyone throughout the world. And if that is your intention and your heart's desire, then don't let the truth hurt you or bother you. It is just information. It's what we do with the information, where we go from from that information. Okay, so one of the things that I found out was that women, I just figured it out. I'm like, women, and then I figured it out. I was told women were here first. It couldn't possibly be that men were here first and that women came from the rib of a man. That never washed with me. That story was always something that I never took to. That with a lot of other stories in the Bible. So I started to read the Bible, and I read the Bible, and information will just pop out at me. The truth started to reveal itself because I would question, okay, and then I would go and I would look information up and so forth. So and just recently, and I guess it's probably time, I started to get information. I mean, I got one information, which is that doctor that told me that women can actually have children on their own. They don't really need a man. And I would post certain things online, and as in regard to that, and regarding to women with first, and I would get just totally attacked and called like on the names. And I remember one time I posted something said woman as God or something to that. Oh my gosh. And I was called the B word and C word, and get the F out of here was the stupidest thing I mean, it was so vile. The word, when it was a guy, it was so, you stupid B woman. Anyway, so these are some, you're going to see some pictures of some of the what do you call it there, artwork that was found. This was before the whole Jesus thing. This was before Egypt. Now, the way this came about, and this is one of the things that a lot of people don't know about, you have to dig for these information, that people are starting to find that there was a world before Egypt, that there were all women. Now, this lady, Maria Gingutas, you'll hear her name in some of the videos that I'm going to show, who did a research, and she, not research, but she's one of those people who dig, what do you call those? I forgot. But anyway, anthropologist, I don't know if I'm saying that right. But anyway, and found and wrote books on this very thing, had to do with Europe. But all over, women were here. There were different societies all over, and they were black. And there's also something that came, that this other information that points to that. Yes, even though they try to tell us that the people that are light, white, Caucasian, if you want to call them that, were made some, aliens or whatever, or cases like that. But that's not simply not true. And then some people try to debunk the issue that they all came from black, from the woman, the woman of color, and and say that that's just preposterous, that you would move somewhere and then you would change color. And I can tell you something. My uncle had moved to Canada, and there's not a lot of sunlight there. It's overcast, and it rains a lot and stuff like that. So when he was here, he was darker than me, and a little bit lighter, but he was dark. I mean, a little bit light, but he was still darker. He was darker than me. And when he came back, and the last time when I saw him, I was like, oh my gosh, look how light he had gotten. So light, it was unbelievable how light he got. So, and the same thing with me. When I'm out of the sun for a while, I get really, really, really light. And anybody who stays out of the sun for a while will start to change. Well, anyway, and by the way, also women had, women of color had babies that were light, albino, and not just albino, So there is a lot of things that are going around that some people, it's like they don't want to admit, or that they have some information, and this is a process of waking up, you know. uh, so I'm going to actually pause and get to the screen and share my screen with you so that you can hear more, and I'll talk to you more about that. But just hold on a minute. Okay. Um, okay, I should have everything queued up. So I'm just going to go ahead. I know, but those are all images. Now, um, please understand that we're all one. This information is for both women of color, women that are white. It's for women. It's for everyone. I find that sometimes most people of color, my own, want this want it's almost like to be dedicated to them, and don't even want to hear it really from anybody else except for maybe another person of color. I'm a person of color. um, but the whole thing is that we're all one. Once we get to realize that we are all one, and there is something that is here among us that is tearing us apart, that is dividing us, and that is doing its best to control us and to take over our world, we will be able to come together and fight and be able to deal with what our situation. But right now, they are doing a really good job at dividing us in every aspect of our life and fabric, and it's because we don't know. We're so deceived that we don't, most people don't know. And women, believe it or not, I strongly feel that we are the key to saving our world. I always used to say and post things that says, if you want to know the truth, look at who is being suppressed the most. And those people were women and people of color. Why? There's a reason for it. Why? For the most. But women, all women, doesn't matter if you're black or white, all women, because women holds the key. Women, we were the first ones here. Okay? That says a lot. So if you can keep that in mind, women, first ones, everything that we've been told is a lie, and it's really to protect the knowledge and to protect the people among us that don't belong. Well, the people that among us that say they are Jews and are not. Okay, the synagogue of Satan. That's another story. But there is a bloodline among us that I don't want to say doesn't belong, because we're all God's children. It doesn't matter. I don't care if you're an alien, or what we would call an alien. We're all one. We're all God's children. Okay? Please just get that. Get a hold of that. But women, what this message is about is to get a hold of the fact that you are a powerful being. You were the first one here. It is very important that you get back to who you are. Meaning that you have to start meditating, you have to go within, you have to really separate yourself from this world. Okay? And once you start to do that, your knowledge will start to come back. Your powers will start to come back. There is something that they fear more than anything else, and it's you, the woman. Okay? I knew that we were able to procreate on our own, and that we were the first ones here. I knew it. I was told that men. There are some information that I have, and I almost talked about it now, and I don't want to. It's just not time yet, and so please just grab a hold of that. Now, I'm going to show you. I mean, of course, this is a picture that shows that women in Egypt were, after the flood, like one young man who did his research and came back and he said that he talked about the society that was here first, which was all women, and then there was a flood, and then we got wiped out. But of course, and he talked about then men got introduced to society, and everything would everybody lived happily, and that the women were worshipped. The women were the one that were leaders. They were equal. That's not, and that because that's one of the things that I try to tell people is that women didn't have this power trip over. I mean, everyone was their children. They didn't have this power trip. It's just that I like to say and use the word honored. They were honored and revered because of their abilities, their powers, their knowledge. That's why they were kind of put on a pedestal a little bit, because of who they were and their powers and their abilities. But other than that, they were just like everybody else. They lived just like everybody else, and everybody was equal. So, saying that, I'm going to, let me just see which one I should start off with. Okay, let me start off with her first. Oh, let me see, make sure that my volume is on, because every time I switch over this, and I gotta make sure I'm speaking up, because last time I did my video, my voice was really low, so I want to make sure that I'm talking up. So I'm not trying not to shout. I'm not shouting at you, but I just want to. Okay, so here you go. Just listen to this for a moment.
God the Father. Today it is simply taken for granted that the supreme creative power of the universe is male, just as Michelangelo illustrated. Man is made in God's image, and women are made from a rib of Adam, which is a belief that requires a lot of faith because nowhere in the physical world is this phenomenon seen. It is women who give birth, but the idea that God may be feminine is, in some circles, heresy. In the 60s and 70s, women began making inroads into academia, and their research of early civilizations subsequently challenged this very male view of religion. Scholars began publishing books uncovering the history of the divine feminine. Most controversial was Lithuanian-born Marija Gimbutienė. As professor of European archaeology at UCLA, and after she had written more than a dozen books on the Bronze Age, she authored several groundbreaking books on Neolithic Old Europe and their gods and goddesses. The goddess hypothesis suggests that before today's patriarchal monotheists, there were polytheists, like the Greeks and Romans, who believed that divinity was represented both as gods and goddesses. And prior to the Greeks and Romans, Neolithic people apparently believed that the divine creative force was primarily feminine. as evidenced by the fact that at the beginning of nearly every civilization, the predominant images were small statues of women made of clay, stone, and ivory.
Okay, there's another young man who I think is an excellent researcher. I'm going to have you listen to a little part of him too, and he talks about that. And you know, more and more the information is coming out. We're just not being able to hide this anymore, and we really need to get this information out there more and more to as many people as we can, so that one of the reasons is so that we can unite. We can realize that, wait a minute, we're one big family, and we need to unite, and we have a common enemy that is trying to destroy us and control us. Now this society, if I'm getting this right, is a mostly male dominant, if not all, dominant beings. I believe they actually were able to have females made due to impregnating and having sex with the human, or what we would call human beings, because they did. And apparently, according to this guy who did his research, the women now, the ones who actually mated with these reptilians, if you believe that, I'm still not quite there yet. I mean, I see the evidence, so I'm not like totally against it. I see that, and according to my spirit, once I ask about this question, is that no, not all reptilians are evil, and some of them are really actually trying to help us, and they're still underground, and they are very advanced spiritually, and they want peace as much as we do. And I believe that they also worked along with the females of that time and helped them, and to some extent that's why they actually they didn't worship them, they honored them. But there is also a reason for that too. But anyway, I don't want to get into that part of it right now. So we have to keep in mind that there is a cover-up here. Please keep that in mind. There is a cover-up. This information they do not want you to know. However, they are at the point where they just feel like, you know what, they're so far ahead of us that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if we know anyway. And they try to tell us, they have to tell us according to their religious beliefs, so that they don't have karma. They have to tell us what they're doing, but usually they put it in codes, or they put it in movies, or they put it in something. They don't straight out come out and tell you what they're doing. They hide the information, but to them they're telling you, and this is so that they don't develop karma. Okay, so anyway, let me see what else she had to say on here.
Sitting proudly with their hands on their hips and sporting crowns, these were women of stature, not women as chattel. Gimbutas wrote that these early societies may have been matrilineal, egalitarian, cooperative communities who honored the sacredness of the feminine, but indeed not to the exclusion of the masculine. Furthermore, she believed that in many ways the Neolithic was just a continuation of the earlier Paleolithic. I wanted to see all these figures together in one place to make a better assessment, so I made a goddess timeline. Many timelines.
Okay. Now, Uh, you know, I met a woman a long time ago, and she told me, she said, she stopped us. I was walking on the street with my uncle, and she stopped us, and she was like, "Oh my gosh!" She was like so thrilled because she can see our spirit. She could see our aura, and she was telling us how wonderful we are and how positive our energies were. And she was telling my uncle, she goes, "Oh yeah, your journey's not done yet." And she realized that he had some issues, some medical issues, and she's like, "You're not going anywhere yet." And it was true, you know. And she doesn't know us, but she just felt like she had to tell us some stuff. But anyway, she was telling us some things that were absolutely true. And then she said to us, "I actually." When she was very sick and she had a near death experience, and she said they're lying to us. They're lying to us. I've seen Evan, and they're all the angels are females. She said that all of us, we have a very thin. She goes, we're all still attached. We had like a line. Every single one of us had a line attached to us, like a silver, like a light white cord that was attached to us, to the spiritual world, and that all the angels were females, and so was God. And that's another story, and I don't want to go into that. So, yeah. And I was like, yes, yes. I was so, to me, that was confirmation. Because I had gotten that information already. And when she said that, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, yes. I didn't come up like that to her because I was so, you know, thrilled to hear what she was saying. And I was like, yes. And then I saw the movie, what was it? Constantine? Yes, with Keanu Reeves. And if you notice, the angel in that movie is a female, but she's supposed to be like a hermaphrodite, okay? And you've seen some things in the movies in certain aspect with gods and stuff like that. There are hermaphrodites, and supposedly they have both male and female. That's another story, but the female energy is the creative energy. The female energy is what creates. Okay? Now, I don't want to go too much into that right now. So it is very important, and I'll just leave it with that. I think, yeah, this is a gentleman. Oh, he's awesome. So if you Okay, so the real Merkaba is this gentleman's name right here. I don't know if you can see that very good, but he did a video. I think he might have done 3 or 4 parts of it. It's Saturn, Satan, which backs up everything that I know. So I was so thrilled when I came across this video. I was like, oh my gosh. I was so thrilled. But anyway, I am going to, I may have to go back a little bit.
She has put out many books on all of was a port in Egypt where they trade. You know, they traded with the Ionians, the Athenians, or Greeks, the Romans. Get man without a woman, period. So common sense should tell you that women had to be here first. They had to be on this planet first. So when you start going way back before ancient Egypt.
Okay, I want just to hear that part again, so it can sink in.
Spin it, give us these bullshit Bible stories, or spin it into Greek mythology. This is where this stuff comes from. It all goes back to ancient Egypt. Now, you have Wadjet, who is basically celebrated on December 25th. She's celebrated on the summer solstice, March 14th, April 21st. Different days that she is celebrated. This is Wadjet. This is where it comes from. Urea, the serpent. Now we can see that this symbology was around before 3100 BCE, where they had serpent symbology. It's all over the ancient world. As I said before, you can't escape it. You're going to find it everywhere. Now, as I keep showing you, the Greeks copied everything. They copied Wadjet and created Buto. Now, Buto is also a village in the Nile Delta where they worship a giant monolith of Wadjet. Wadjet or Buto is also associated with the...
I wanted to hear the female part, but I don't want to move forward and then skip it over, so just bear through this. This is still educating. You have to listen to him. It's awesome.
Greek goddess Leto, who is the goddess of motherhood. Now the Romans copied that and gave you Latana or Latona, who is also the goddess of motherhood. So we can see where, you always find Greek mythology and Roman mythology go hand in hand. The Greeks copy from Egypt, and then the Romans copy from the Greeks, and they just changed the names. Everybody just changed the names, but it all corresponds back to ancient Kemet, where they get it from. So now understand, we know that Heracleion existed. It was a port in Egypt where they did trade. They traded with the Ionians, the Athenians or Greeks, the Romans, people from all over. The Egyptians traded with everybody, but the Persians took the ship and basically still conquered. Get to a point where stuff starts seeming out of this world for real. I'm not talking about mythology. When you start seeing this stuff for real, it gets creepy, and I see why people leave it alone. People get away from it and they try to jump on something else.
Okay, yeah, I've talked about this so many times, and when you start to go down the rabbit hole, if you haven't already gone down it, this information is going to get so heavy because it is going to check your reality. It is going to shake your reality, and you're going to get confused as if, oh my gosh, this is not right. What? Especially when you're doing it on your own. Especially when you when you are getting, as I would say, and then I hear somebody else saying, Michael Jaco, he says a download. But I used to say that. But when I'm getting these information, when you're getting it and you don't have any point of reference, it can become overwhelming. And then when you start to do research and then you start to come up with something else, some other stuff that are like opening more your eyes, and you're like, oh my gosh. And then your eyes starting to open even more, and you're like, whoa. Now I got to the point where I was just gonna drop everything and go back to Christianity, because that was my safe zone. I was just gonna go, okay, maybe I'm just like, this is too much. And I was actually, I knew that my vibration had fell because I was on this stuff and I wasn't really meditating as much as I should, and I felt a change in me. I felt it, and I was like, okay, and I wanted to gain that back again, that blissful feeling. And I wasn't angry. I wasn't an angry person, and I wasn't, I still had much control over myself, but anyway. And so I wanted to get away from it. I wanted to get away from it again to regain my vibration and my frequency. But there's a way that you can do that, and one of my friends used to tell me, just listen and don't take it in, because when you take it in, and what I mean by when you take it in was that when you make it personal, when you become affected emotionally by it, then you're taking it in, the whole idea. And it's hard not to get affected emotionally by it, but get angry, to get a little frustrated, to feel a little hopeless, to just emotions. So the whole thing is that if you can actually, I'm telling you in advance, is to just not get emotional. Just take the information, but it's hard to do that. So the main thing, go through the process. The thing is that, you know what, you probably are going to get that way, so just go through the process. Take a step back for a moment, meditate. Just know that this is going to happen, and you have to just go through the process, but you just go through it, because if you back up, then what you're just doing is just that you're just going into your comfort zone, and then you're not making any progress. And he'll talk about that. That happened to him, this gentleman, and he just had to keep on going, and now he got all this information, and now he's just like free. When I heard his video that confirmed everything, I knew, I swear, I felt so free. I became so free. It was like, oh my gosh, like a weight just fell off my shoulder, because now there was evidence. I wasn't losing my mind. I found somebody who had evidence, proof that this was real. Anyway.
You can't escape this if you're trying to figure out the truth, because it's there. It exists. I've been dealing with this stuff, for, over a decade, with the whole serpent symbology. I was hooked on it, and I got through it because it's not hard to figure out what's going on, because the information is out there if you are willing to do the research. But to figure this stuff out, we have to go way back. I'm talking about before ancient Egypt. I'm talking about way before men ever existed. I keep telling you, I keep saying, you cannot get a man without a woman. And the reason why I keep bringing this up, because if you be real with yourself, if you stop being, egotistical, if you be real with yourself, then you know that a man cannot exist without a woman, period. There's no way around that. There's no way around it. So man and woman wasn't created at the same time. Woman had to be created first, because a man cannot exist without a woman. So no matter how you slice it, no matter what you want to say, you can't get man without a woman, period. So common sense should tell you that women had to be here first. They had to be on this planet first. So when you start going way back before ancient Egypt, what do you think we find? We find